Nice to see everyone. I'm Nicholas Flanders. I'm co-founder and CEO of 12, and I'll talk to you today about carbon transformation, and in particular our product, which is called EJet, which is jet fuel made from CO2. So at 12, we've developed a process that we call carbon transformation. So this is different from carbon capture, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, where you're taking CO2 out of the air or out of industry. And what we do at 12 is we come up with a better answer to the question of, okay, now you've captured CO2, what do you do with it? The main thing that people are talking about doing with CO2 today is to bury it underground. But the problem with that is that it doesn't add any new value to the carbon that you've captured, and ultimately that'll just be a cost to society, although it is addressing emissions. And so what we do at 12 is called carbon transformation. That means taking CO2 that you've captured and turning it into valuable products. So to give you a sense of what we do, we take three inputs. We take CO2, water, and renewable electricity. And our technology breaks apart the CO2 and water and turns it into new products that are normally made from fossil fuels. The technology was developed at Stanford University. I'm one of the three co-founders, and we now have a team of about 300. We have 6 facilities in the Bay Area and are building our first jet fuel production plant in Washington State. So there's a lot of talk about the energy transition. So that means moving from fossil-based sources of energy into renewable sources of energy. And what we're doing at 12 is the next transition, which is the carbon transition. So that means moving from fossil-based sources of carbon to renewable-based sources of carbon. Because the truth is we still need lots of carbon. Even if we move to 100% renewable electricity, we're still going to need carbon to make shoes and the chairs that you're sitting on and fuel to travel across the ocean. So carbon is not the enemy, it's the way that we're making it. And so that's what we enable at 12, is a new way of getting carbon from the air instead of from the ground. So we make 2 products at 12. We make jet fuel from CO2. We call that EJet. So it's jet fuel that's entirely made from CO2 and water. That means it has over 90% lower CO2 emissions and can be used in any existing aircraft. And then we also make what are called CO2-made products. So these are chemical feedstocks that allow you to make everything from Legos to yoga pants or all the things that you get today that are currently made from petrochemical feedstocks. We can make those same things from CO2. And so we call that CO2-made. The first product that we're commercializing, so our hero product, is called EJet. Alaska Airlines is the first airline that'll be flying regularly on this fuel, so you can take that flight starting next year. We have a partnership with Etihad Airways that we announced earlier this year, and we have a multi-billion-dollar offtake agreement with a European airline that we'll announce in a couple of months. The first customer for EJet fuel was the US Air Force. We delivered fuel to them in 2021, and they tested and certified that it's ready for use in up to a 50% blend with conventional jet fuel. And if you come see me afterwards, you can check it out. So this is the actual EJet fuel that we delivered to the Air Force, a small sample of it. And you can actually smell it because it's got a different smell than normal jet fuel because it's a perfect hydrocarbon. It's synthesized to be completely efficient with much lower soot formation and significantly lower CO2 emissions. So a lot of attributes. And it's better environmentally than biofuels. It has a bigger CO2 reduction and only uses 1/10 of the water, which is very important, of course, in regions like the Middle East, and only uses 1/10 or 1/100th of the land of biofuels. So we have a lot of great investors at 12. We've raised about $700 million to date, about $300 million in corporate equity from partners like DCVC, Capricorn, Fifth Wall, so really the best climate tech investors in Silicon Valley. And recently we raised a $400 million project equity partnership with TPG from their Rise Fund. So that's directed toward our new commercial EJet plants. So we've got really great backing, and we've finished scaling up. So this technology is ready to deploy. You'll be able to take flights next year The core technology is CO2 electrolysis. So if you come visit us in the Bay Area, you'll see this. So this is the world's largest CO2 electrolyzer. If any of you are familiar with green hydrogen, that's water electrolysis, turning water into hydrogen. We turn CO2 into carbon-based products at low temperature and in pretty much the same kind of device. So that's what makes this really transformative and breakthrough. We can come quickly down the cost curve, surf on top of all of the innovation that's happening in hydrogen, but enable it for an entirely new product based on carbon. So we can do this. This is my co-founders and me with the governor of Washington State breaking ground on the world's first commercial EJet plant a couple of months ago, and this plant will already be complete by next summer. So it contains our CO2 electrolyzers. This is the actual rendering of the plant in the background, and the only inputs into this process are CO2, water, and green electricity, in particular hydropower here in Washington State. And we'll be scaling this up and replicating these plants around the US and then expanding internationally. Look forward to building our first plant here in Saudi in the future. So our roadmap ahead this year, this year we're under construction, and that means 2024 we'll start flying with Alaska Airlines. 2025 will be about scaling and mass production of the electrolyzer so that we can build many projects. And then in 2026, we'll really be at full scale with multiple project sites, generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and scaling toward billions of dollars in annual recurring revenue in the following year. So would love to partner with you. Would like to talk about jet fuel offtakes. We work with corporate partners as well. So Microsoft and Shopify, for example, are big partners of ours who are looking to reduce their operating emissions through EJet. And then would like to talk to you about partnerships around investment. Thanks for the time. We're here to create a future based on a renewable source of carbon that still utilizes all of the infrastructure and resources that we've built out around aviation and refining, but now in an entirely circular way. Thank you.